Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. So it's been a minute since I've posted. If you might have noticed, I took about 2 weeks between my last video and now. Usually it's only a week, I post once weekly. I actually moved into a new place, so that's why the delay is here and why the sound is probably a little bit different with my voice, maybe a bit more echoey. This new house has wood floors and the room does not have any carpeting. Typically, I have always lived in places with carpeting, so I still have some work to do to sound treat the room a little bit to make things sound better, so bear with me in the process. But I wanted to take this opportunity to talk about Battlefield 2042. This week has been a big week in terms of news for the game, and I just wanted to address some of it. If you're unfamiliar with what's been going on with Battlefield 2042, I would direct you to JackFrags. He has a really good video kind of summarizing this week's news of things, so you can go to his channel, I'll link it in the description. You could also check out a channel called WesNemo. For a while, he was posting pretty much daily videos with Battlefield news around the 5-minute mark. So if you want to catch up on things that have happened up until now, or just want some nice bite-sized news videos around Battlefield 2042, I really do recommend checking out WesNemo, so I'll leave the link to his channel in the description as well. So starting off, I wanted to acknowledge my somewhat soft or forgiving stance on 2042 thus far. If you've watched my content on the game, you know that I have been a bit more positive than most creators. A lot of people have been very harsh on the game and very critical of DICE and EA, and that is deserved in some respects. I think for me, I've mentioned before that I am a software engineer as my job. I just feel for DICE a lot more, and I feel like a lot of the issues with the game just come from executive leadership and not the developers. And end of the day, I do think that Battlefield 2042, while it might not be the type of Battlefield game that we all want, it's still fairly fun. It's not perfect, it definitely has a ton of issues, but sometimes when I jump on and play a game or two and don't take it too seriously and don't think about my expectations of the game prior to launch, I have a decent time with it. So I think that's been the source of my kind of very relaxed, forgiving approach to Battlefield 2042 thus far. But I do acknowledge that it has a ton of issues, and I just wanted to talk about some of the news from this week and my thoughts on it. So if you haven't heard, Season 1 for the Battlefield 2042 live service content has been delayed to early summer. They didn't say specifically when, just early summer, so that probably means June or July. And they're going to take this time to instead bring the game up to the right high standard that people expect and to implement a lot of fan feedback. The patch that includes the scoreboard has also been delayed, I believe, until early March. To me, this is potentially a soft admission that the game is unfinished and is essentially an early access product as it stands right now, and it needs a lot of work to bring it up to a AAA standard. Obviously, AAA shooters have not been that great in 2021 and even 2020. I think the standard for AAA shooters has gone down quite a bit, but with the rise of the indie shooter with games like Ready or Not, there's a lot more pressure on these AAA studios now, I think, to really bring their games back to a high level to keep them interesting for players. There's just so many options out there that they can't get away with this sort of greedy, rushed content like they've been doing the last few years. And I think that this approach of let's take time to fix the game and just bring the base game up to a decent standard is a sort of as much as admission as we're going to get that the game did not launch as a full product that demands a full price. Even though it is disappointing that we're not going to get content for a while, I do think this is the way that we needed to go to fix all of the performance issues, the bugs, and some design issues that the game has. Also, there was an EA executive that said on the investor call that DICE is good at bouncing back from bad launches, which just further indicates to me that it was probably EA and the executives that were the culprits for this really bad, rushed launch of the game. And they just kind of lean on DICE to clean up the messes with Battlefield. Obviously, the franchise is known for rocky launches, and it seems like that's mostly on EA rather than DICE. And honestly, one of the things that's giving me a lot of hope for Battlefield 2042 in the future, I am still hanging on to hope, is Marcus Leto. If you don't know who he is, he's one of the original creators of Halo and the lore and universe of Halo and Master Chief. And he is in charge of that same kind of thing for Battlefield. And a lot of his tweets have been super encouraging. He has voiced his own opinion about wanting to bring Battlefield back to a grittier, darker, more serious tone. And he's even sent out a pretty encouraging tweet lately about how he can't talk about what's happening, but that he's glad to be working with a lot of talented devs at DICE and Ripple Effect, and that they all genuinely care about Battlefield. And he's really making me feel confident about it. And with that, he replied to a tweet about the release of the new McKay skin that's going out for people who bought the game at a higher price, and obviously it wasn't what they expected. The McKay skin, if you haven't seen it, looks really cool. It's a very future soldier, more serious thing. And Leto kind of expressed that this was kind of the direction they might be wanting to go in a very sort of passive way. I know it's obviously his job to try to encourage players to want to play the game and to make them excited about the game, so I do accept what he's saying with a bit of a grain of salt, but hearing someone be so open about it alongside the lead game designer, I believe his name is Florian or Drunksy on Twitter, it gives me a lot of hope and makes me think that, you know, EA got what they wanted. They got their early launch around the holiday season and made whatever money they were going to make from sales, and has now probably lost money from refunds and, you know, getting bad press. And now they might just be allowing DICE and the team to fix the game and make it a decent game. It really makes me think about Battlefield 2042 as a platform for everything Battlefield, between Hazard Zone and especially Portal with all of its potential, obviously. I think it still has the potential to be a super long-term game. Something like a sort of League of Legends style game that can just persist for years and years and years and just evolve with time. And it really makes me curious what this game is going to look like in the holiday season of this year and early 2023. It just seems really encouraging. I think by that time we'll have had a couple seasons of content, and that will, with the fixes to the existing content, make the game feel a lot more complete and maybe really compelling. I do have reservations though. EA and DICE have always made sure to mention that they are only giving this game 1 year of support. So that could mean that after the 1 year, they cut off all support and just pull an Anthem with this. Obviously, as is, I would not recommend buying the game if you haven't yet, but maybe around the holiday season of this year, things might change. That's all for me. Let me know your thoughts on Battlefield 2042 in the comments below. I'd love to talk about this. It's one of the most interesting launches in gaming history, in my opinion, so let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to drop a like. If you didn't, leave a dislike so I know you need to change something. Subscribe if you're new. We'll have plenty more FPS content in the future. With that, I'd like to thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next video.